go, bring it up. Let's go, let's go, let's go. Let's go.
It's about to be a lit day today.
Hey, let's get back to our swagger, come on.
All of them get the dough down.
That is the juggernaut.
Hey, what's going on? Welcome inside the TCO studios. My name is Gabe Henderson alongside Ben Leber. This is the Audible presented by Verizon. With 5G built right for the Vikings, Minnesota can scream, stream, and share every play in Verizon 5G quality. This is episode number 7. We are on a bye week. We are 3-3. And more importantly, we are going into the bye week with a win, Ben. How are you, man?
I'm doing great, man. How you doing? Doesn't it feel good to go into the bye week with a win? 2 wins in a row.
So I've covered NFL teams for 4 seasons. This is my 4th season, 2 years in Washington, 2 years here. This is the first time I've ever went into a bye with a win. So this is a new feeling for me. This is a really new feeling for me. So I'm like, I don't know if I should be excited, like energized, worried, concerned. But at the end of the day, we don't have to worry about losing or winning this week.
Well, yeah, that is a good thing. Yeah. You can say that we all win this week.
That's true.
But no, allow yourself, because we understand how fickle the NFL can be. And from week to week, I think everybody's moods, not just us here that work with the Vikings, but, fans around town, fans around the country. I mean, I know people that, have very blue Mondays when the Vikings lose, and it's much happier the next day at work around the water cooler with your buddies if the team wins. So I think you take the wins when you can. You hold on to that good feeling. Thankfully, we have 2 weeks really, to kind of feel good about this win. And so own it, buddy. Feel good about it.
Own it. I mean, we won 34-28 against the Carolina Panthers. Took us 5 quarters to do so. Overtime, KJ Osborne has a 27-yard touchdown reception from Kirk Cousins, and the game should have never been that close. But the fact that we were able to pull out a close win, especially going back to the Arizona game or the Cincinnati Bengals game where we lost some of those close games, it was encouraging to see this Vikings team actually win something or win in a close battle against a team that's looking for a playoff push in the Carolina Panthers.
Yeah, I think if there are some personality characteristics that you look for in your team, and resiliency is one of them, and everybody wants to be kind of battle tested when it comes to end of November after Thanksgiving into December into the playoff push. And you kind of hope, I would think as a coach, that you have these games that are a little bit battle tested and you're like, okay, we got to test the fortitude of our guys. I just wish it didn't have to come down to the way that we've had to kind of check that box the last 2 weeks. Is why did it have to be so close against Detroit? I think we all understand that there was just a lack of aggression from our offense. It just seemed like we were playing very conservative. And then we kind of flipped the script, and I felt like we were very, very aggressive offensively. And we played great defense for most of the game, except for kind of towards the end of the game. We sort of just waned off. And I don't think it was a lack of aggression. It just certainly was a lapse in execution. And they took advantage of us. They found some places that we were vulnerable, and kudos to them for taking advantage. But I guess if you look at the benefits of being in 2 close games, I don't think you have to question, the heart.
Yeah.
And I think the mental toughness of this team only 6 games in.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, one thing that comes to my mind is the fact that, we'll have some drives where we will just stall, or during the game where we have some of those moments where we just don't have any momentum from the offensive side of the ball. And then the last true drives of the game, or like the last drive of the game, when we actually need points, we're able to go out there and execute. So the proof is in the pudding. We can execute when our backs are against the wall, but you just want to get out of those situations, like you said, where your back is against the wall and you have to, make steps forward and then give, I guess, Minnesota Vikings fans a mini heart attack in the process. But one guy that fans are very excited about and very proud of through the first 6 games of the season is Kirk Cousins.
Yeah.
He has been on a roll thus far. This is the best he has ever played as a Minnesota Vikings QB. He's been on the field pretty much every single game that he's played this year. What stands out to you about him?
I think just he's really, when I watch him, he's kind of the same. On the sidelines, he's sort of the same. I saw, bits and pieces of it last year and the year before where, he'd get up and he'd say a little something to the offensive line, better, whether it's good or bad, whether they're performing poorly and he was getting harassed back there and taking sacks, he'd go over and say something. He'd go and praise them if they're doing well. Dalvin would come over and praise the offensive line if they're doing well. I mean, I think if there's one thing in the course of the game that I appreciate about him is he is meticulous to his routine. You know, he gets his little Microsoft Surface and he sits down and he goes through and he asks questions and they talk and that's it. And then he gets up and maybe, you know, has a quick conversation with people, but he's all business all the time. And so I think I appreciate that about him because he has faced so much public adversity. And I think it'd be easy for him to succumb to, well, this is the way they want me to act. So I'm going to go out of body and give them what they want. And I think that he is extending himself a little bit, but not outside the realm where he's being fraudulent. Like, I really think that, you know, his bonding with Coach Zimmer that they're doing during the week with these film sessions, I do think you're starting to see this comfort with the two of them. And I think that if there's any difference, I think there's way less tension maybe between the two that you can see. It's kind of palpable, and I think we all obviously through the videos have seen the "you like that" with the shove and the mean mugging back and forth to each other, and it's just like what is happening here? But like, you know, and then, you know, the picture of them in the tunnel from this last game, you know, that's pure joy.
You
like
love
that,
to see it.
That is pure elation from the both of them, and I think there's truly a much deeper mutual respect between the two. So I think it's kind of business as usual during the game, but I think that you are starting to see this outward show of emotion between the two of them that I think is helping, you know, across the board with the team.
You love to see that. Anytime your head coach and your quarterback are on the same page or on the same wavelength, that's pretty much vibrating throughout the entire team, and we've seen that. That's been a positive from the offensive side of the ball. The defensive side of the ball probably played their best game last week, only giving up 306 total yards. 96 of those 306 yards were on the last drive of the game. And that's saying a lot. We were talking earlier, we lead the NFL in pressures on the quarterback, lead the NFL in sacks. What stands out to you about this defense? That's just been the way Mike Zimmer wants it. Let me put it that way.
Well, it's getting better. You know, that's the scary thing for the rest of the league is I think as guys on the outside, you know, we got a lot of familiar faces, but we also had a lot of new pieces to this team, you know. We didn't know what Michael Pierce was going to look like because he sat out last year. Now he's been banged up a little bit this year, but I think the times that he's been in there, he's been an absolute dominant force in there. Dalvin Tomlinson, I think, he's starting to come into his own. I think he had his best game this last week against Carolina. You're seeing guys like DJ Wanham against the Lions, I think, have his best game, and he's a young player. Obviously, Patrick Peterson, Bashaud Breeland, Xavier Woods. You know, those are all new pieces, familiar names to everybody in the football world, but new pieces to this defense. And I think it just keeps getting better. You know, you see Bashaud getting more comfortable, and I think that's starting to show in just how the team is playing. I mean, they kicked butt except for that last drive. You know, that 97 yards they gave up. You know, 66 yards on fourth down. You know, that obviously has to be evaluated and looked at and figure out why. Like, why did that happen? But up until that point, they were dominating. I mean, they were crushing them.
Positive news, we're 3-3. Bad news going into the bye week is that our number one corner, Patrick Peterson, he's out for the next 3 games. So he won't play Dallas, he won't play Baltimore or the Chargers. All 3 of those teams like to throw the ball. For us to continue this success with Patrick Peterson not being here or not being physically able to perform on the field, who needs to step up?
Well, I think definitely the secondary just has to step up. You know, Chris Boyd's got to step. Cam Dantzler has to step up. You know, Mack, Breeland, the guys I just mentioned. You know, maybe there's a little more pressure on Zim with his safeties. You know, are you going to play more 2 high safety? Are you going to have a little bit more safety help over the top for some of these teams? Because all 3 of these teams like to throw it deep. You know, especially when you look at Baltimore, they're going to create a lot of deep stuff just because Lamar will scramble around and buy some time. We had some experience with Kyler. It didn't work out in our favor. We had a lot of busts in the secondary when it comes to scramble coverage, and we just didn't latch on. And so we have to clean up all that stuff. And so I think the pressure comes down to just the secondary. They all have to step up, and it's. You know, I hate to just point out the 2 guys, but, you know, Boyd and Dantzler, those 2 guys are really going to have to take this bye week and figure out how can I play starting caliber snaps for the next 3 or 4 games.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. I was telling you before, I was talking to Cam Dantzler. I mean, not Cam Dantzler, but Chris Boyd earlier, and he was basically saying, you know, everybody has to do their 111th. Because I was like, does this put more pressure on our D-line to get more pressures? But you made a good point. if you're number one overall in the league in pressures, how much better can you get?
Yeah.
So to that point, those guys do have to step up. And I know teams are going to try our secondary or our corners now because they know P2 is not playing. But at the same time, I will say, I trust this group this year versus last year because they've had a P2 in the room. They've had a guy that's been through the experience, that showed them hand in hand, this is how you play the cornerback position. This is how you lock in. This is how you dial in. They'll still have him in his ear, but at the same time, they're able to apply some of that knowledge onto the field when it comes to this Dallas Cowboys group. So I'm looking forward to it. I think the challenge is out there. They got to accept the challenge. This team can be really good, but we know teams they're going to try us in the pass game now because P2 has been phenomenal so far this year.
He's been really good. It seems like when teams, I think early on the teams didn't throw to his side. They're just going after Breeland, and I think that was a smart strategy on the offense's part. But now as the season's gone along, these last 3 games, people are trying him a little bit, and that's credit to Bashad for stepping up and putting some stuff on tape. Like, he's not the weak link that we thought he was. He's getting better. So now we have to balance out our attack. And there's been a couple big third down stops and PBUs that Patrick Peterson's had. That's been great.
Yeah. Well, we don't have a guest on today's show because it's a bye week, so all the players are gone.
Yeah.
So what we'll do for the second segment, we'll have a best of the Audible.
There's lots.
There's a lot that didn't even make the show.
These guys that are going to cut everything up, I don't see how they're going to condense something down. I mean, every show we do is the best of.
Yeah, it's the best of every time.
Every time. Every time.
Every time we sit in the seat, it's the best of whatever we're doing. So don't turn the dial. We'll be right back with the Audible or the best of the Audible from week 1 to week 6.
Let's go!
It's about to be a lit day today.
Hey, let's get back to our swagger. Come on.
All of them get the dough down.
That is the juggernaut.
All right, welcome back to the Audible presented by Verizon. My name is Gabe Henderson alongside Ben Leber. And Ben, like we talked about before, this segment, we're dedicating it to the best of the Audible thus far. Our amazing crew has done great work getting all of the compilation of, I guess, the best videos together from the time we've been here. So our first guest is a guy who has been making plays all year long.
Big plays.
I want you throw it to it.
All right, this is a guy that is becoming a fan favorite because not only because of his personality, his work ethic, where he was from last year to this year, but he's Mr. Clutch, Mr. Clutch, KJ Osborne. Okay, so last week, Arizona Cardinals bombed down the field, and there you are, wide open. First touchdown in your career. What was that like?
On first down, play action to Dalvin off that sweet run. Deep shot, man uncovered. KJ, 20, 10, touchdown! 2 plays, 1 lead, and KJ Osborne's first National Football League touchdown. It's 6-0 Minnesota.
Well, we have been running that play since training camp, and every time I run it, I just try to get really tight off JJ's heel, so if we come and they do have to pick it off, like I'm running too fast, try to trip somebody up or do something, I was just kind of something I was doing on my own. I really actually scored on that like way back in training camp, like the same way, and I tried to do the same thing in the game, and I executed it. At number 7, he carried me, and then he dropped me, and I seen Kurt, he threw it, and after that it was over. So I caught it, everything after that was a blur, and it was just a dream come true. Obviously, I talk to somebody, I've scored that touchdown in my head 1,000 times since I was a little kid. So it was a dream come true. I was telling JJ, I didn't know if I wanted to dance or spike it. I didn't know what I wanted to do, but it was a fan talking to me in pregame, so I went right up to him and I was talking back at him. Yeah. I was looking at him in his face, so that was pretty cool, great moment. It was cool.
So you visualize the execution of the play, but you don't visualize the celebration.
Right, I don't know if this could ever happen. Like,
Justin would never make that. Yeah, he would never make that.
The funny part is, after the touchdown, he was like, bro, I don't know what to do when I score. I was like, bro, just do whatever whatever symbolizes you. I got the gritty, you can take the gritty if you know. Everybody can do the gritty, but that's up to you. That's, you have your own little thing.
So were you the primary on that play? You were the number 1 read?
It just depends on the defense.
It depends on what they give you.
It depends on
the
the
defense. But a good chance that ball, if if once you saw him drop you, you knew that.
Oh yeah. When
Majority of his man to man, it was probably most likely gonna go to him.
Right.
Yeah.
Because of the switch. That's why
Yeah.
I came off running, and then when he dropped me, and I looked back and I made eye contact with Kurt. I'm like, it was coming.
Let's go time.
Hey, let's go.
All right, so here's the thing that always baffles me. So I'm a northern climate guy, you're a Michigan guy, right?
Yeah.
So I played football at Kansas State. We're like right in the middle of the country. It's hot, it's a little humid.
Yeah.
I still cramped up a lot.
Yeah.
How the hell do you guys play football in August in training camp in Louisiana, in Miami, Florida? How do you make it through?
I don't know. Honestly.
And don't tell me it didn't affect you.
Oh, it definitely affected me.
Good.
Gosh.
100% affected me, especially in college. You know, we doing all the extra conditioning, extra running, practices 2 hours long. So it definitely was tough, but I mean, you just gotta push through it. Just gotta suck it up and
Did
keep
you ever
going.
have one of those, oh, please God, let me get through this practice or let me get through this condition
All
work?
the time.
All the time.
So
Maybe every day.
maybe every day. So my thing is when I play, like I played in the South. So I played school in Virginia, and I'm from North Carolina. So when I played, I always played with long sleeves on. So I know KJ got on long sleeves right now, but long sleeves it kept me cool. Like it keep the sun rays off your body. Maybe I'm in the minority on this, but I'm cool with that.
I ain't play with nothing.
In
on
Louisiana, nah.
I play with just shoulder pads. Like it was shoulder pads and then skin, and I keep it up here. So
No
I try
shirt? No half
I didn't
shirt?
play with nothing on. Like you can't
top,
in Miami.
like,
It's like down there on Green Tree. You know that's where all the legends practice. Like Coach Diaz, they don't got no sympathy for you down there. Like, it get hot. Like and when I came from Buffalo to Miami, so that was a huge difference for me. So like. It's hot. I'm like, we can't go in the indoor. Like, I'm going to the trainers. Like, what's the heat index? They like 115, 118. I'm like, man, I want to call my mama. I got me out here in this heat. I'm dying out here, man. But
What's the first thing when you get the defensive call and you're kind of going through your Rolodex of your responsibilities for that play, as you watch the offense come out, what's your thought process? What are you keying on? What are you thinking about on a snap-to-snap basis?
Get the play. As soon as we break, clap. I say it to myself twice. Then I say my assignment. Then by that time, they're still in the huddle. I go to where I am, left or right, and that's the huddle breaks. I look for the tight end. That sets a lot of our stuff. And then from there, I look at the rest of the offensive formation. That eliminates like 75% of plays. And then from there, I then key in on my target, whether it's the tight end or the tackle, based on where I'm at. And I'm just laser dialed in and looking for subtle tendencies. Is he leaning this way, leaning that way? Is he leaning back, leaning forward? Offensive linemen talk to each other all the time. They'll ask questions like, what's the snap count? And I'm like, don't. Because the first thing a defensive coach is like, don't listen to the ball, to the snap count when you get to the ball. And they're like, check, what's the snap count? And they're like, 1. I was like, is he telling the truth?
Yeah, do I believe him or not?
So you'll get some small stuff like that. But other than that, I'm just look at my guy, find the tight end, then look at my guy and be laser locked in after I look at the formation. And from there, it's put your hand on the man across from you in a violent manner.
Yeah.
Last night I was watching your high school basketball highlight tape, and I was like, why has nobody ever like brought this up? Averaging 13.8 points in high school. You played with Dante DiVincenzo?
Yep.
Like, you wore number 24. Like, talk to me, man. Like, we got the pictures in the background. Like,
I was hoping nobody would ever find those. They actually played them in the offensive meeting one time last year in front of the whole offense. There was some laughs for sure.
But it probably got to be some because you don't expect that from an offensive lineman. Well, I know you didn't play offensive lineman in high school, though.
Yeah, I don't know. A lot of people came up to me afterwards like, hey, I'll bet you I beat you in one-on-one. After seeing it, I was like, dang, it was that bad.
So do you have a teammate that you could say right now at 305 that I could beat this person in basketball? Who would it be?
I mean, I always tell Rashad that I could beat him.
He's pretty good, though.
Yeah, he is, and I've heard he's actually really good. I haven't seen him play, but from my understanding, is Justin's the best player on the team, and it's not close.
So you take that as a challenge?
No, I want no part of that. But just general knowledge for the fans out there. Apparently, JJ is the best by far.
Tyler Conklin out here is pretty good too.
He is good. He actually went to Central Michigan to play basketball at first.
It's crazy, like seeing bigger guys like you playing like point guard. Like I was reading an article, your coach basically said you played center, but in your head you were a point guard. Like you were a slasher.
Yeah.
Well, like, so you're good with the ball in your hands?
No, I just thought I was.
All right, one other off the field thing. I've been saving this for last.
Yeah.
Let's
get a shot of
go.
that?
Got the hippie feet socks on.
Yeah, man. I saw your post. I'm like, that's a good cause. Kind of a cool look. I like the retro. I got my daughter like that long sleeve shirt, that kind of retro speed racer type of shirt.
Sweet, huh?
So yeah, it is sweet.
Yeah.
So good for you, man.
Appreciate it.
Go to hippiefeetsocks.com, right?
Yep.
That's where it is.
And there's a little 54 collection. It was fun to make. I try to make it car themed. We talked about cars a lot. So
awesome.
cool, man.
Awesome. Well, EK, appreciate your time today. I know you got a lot more to do, and you got a game to get ready for. So best of luck. Let's go beat those Motor City kids. Appreciate it. All right. Well, that is the best of thus far from week 1 to week 6. There's a lot of content that they had to cut out.
Yeah, they shrunk it down. They made it work.
I mean, for TV, you got to do what you got to do.
I mean, it's a talented group we work with, man.
Absolutely, absolutely. And if you have missed any of the Audible, any segments, any seasons, any shows thus far, you can go back to Vikings.com or go to our YouTube channel to check some of those shows out. Ben, it's bye week, man.
Yeah, and you know what? Shame on you if you've missed anything. I think the thing is, if you want to go back and rewatch these a second or third time, that's where you can go, because you can't miss an episode.
You can't miss them, especially KJ, JJ, Michael Pierce, Brian. Just go back and watch them.
Yeah.
It's moral of the story. Go back and watch them. Ben and I, we got to get out of here. It's bye week. I'm excited to talk to you next week, though, with our player guests. Any final thoughts?
No, man, I think just enjoy the bye week. Enjoy that nice, warm feeling that we have as Vikings fans, that we've won the last 2 games. I think everybody's blood pressure can get back to normal.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, man, enjoy your bye week. Get some rest.
Yeah. I've got a lot of cardiology tweets in my mentions this far. So take care of your hearts this week. Do what you got to do. But in the meantime, we will see you guys next week right here on the Audible presented by Verizon.